What's going on, you guys? In today's video, I'm gonna go over everything that I've used to put this L83, so Gen 5 direct injection 5.3 into my 88 Silverado. So if you're putting any 5.3 or 6.2 into your 88 to 98 Silverado, this is what you can use. You don't have to use the stuff that I use. There's multiple other companies, multiple other ways to do pretty much all of this, but this is what I have used. I have 1,000 miles on the setup so far and really haven't had any issues. So if you want some help, here's some help. If not, there's other stuff you guys can use out there. All right, hopping straight into this, I'm gonna just start going off this little cheat sheet that I got. Is my ICT Billet motor mount adapter plates. So ICT Billet makes a billet aluminum motor mount plate that bolts to your LT motor and utilizes the factory small block 350 clamshell. It has different holes so you can move the motor front or back. And in my application, with it being in my 88 and still wanting to utilize the AC compressor off the LT, I did have to cut the front of the front ear off the motor mount plate, but it works. Hopping into number 2 is my ICT Billet Alternator and power steering bracket. So what this does is it moves your alternator up into a different location and adds a power steering pump. With the kit, they tell you that they want you to use a C5 or C6 Corvette power steering pump, which require a remote reservoir. So I just had a buddy over at Canals Automotive and Performance. He welded one up for me and I got that mounted on my fender. As far as my gauges, I'm running Dakota digital gauges, so I didn't have to run any other temp sensors or all that. And since this LT is standalone, I am running the BIM module, so it pulls all my oil pressure, RPM, tranny temp, coolant temp, like everything, speed, off the factory LT computer. You have to run stuff for like your fuel tank level, your battery voltage, stuff like that. Really easy to set up. Love them. As far as harness, which is probably my most asked question, I am running a PSI harness. I've had a couple issues with it here and there, but PSI has always been fairly quick to resolve the issues. I'll jump into cooling quick. I have a 2015 Silverado radiator in it, and I grabbed the fans and the fan shroud out of a wrecked truck. And the electric fans that came in the 2015 truck did not work, so I actually ordered fans off Speedway Motors, put them into that fan shroud, and they work great. As far as the wiring for the fans, I'm running PSI's fan relay kit, so that worked great, really easy to hook up. Okay, so sticking with cooling, I am running a factory 2015 Silverado coolant reservoir. I think they're the same from 07 to 18, don't quote me, but it works. I mounted it over there on my fender next to my battery. And coolant hoses, I went to rockauto.com and ordered the factory 2015 Silverado upper and lower radiator hose. They were cheap, they were Gates brand, they work perfectly fine. Exhaust, I'm running Speed Engineering long tube headers. They're stainless. And then I got a 3-inch universal kit online with an X-pipe that I made work, which I didn't put any cats, any mufflers, no resonator, nothing like that on it. It's obnoxiously loud. I will be probably changing it to a Y-pipe and a muffler, just because I want to see how that sounds. But that is my exhaust setup for now. As far as throttle pedal goes, I'm using a factory 14 to 18 truck pedal, and I made my own bracket. I'll post a video up to that right here, up here somewhere, or I made my own bracket for that. I'm using my factory 88 Silverado trans cross member. I did put a 4L60E trans mount bushing on the back. I think I could have gotten away with using the 6L80/90 bushing, but I just read somewhere that the 4L60 one worked. That's what I have. It works just fine. As far as shift linkage for the 6L90 that I have in my truck, It's pretty much factory. I took that little shift linkage off the side of the 6090 and took my one off my factory 700R4, bolted it on, everything works fine. I have a cheap Spectre intake that I got at AutoZone for a 2017 Tahoe, just because that's what the motor came out of. I made it work. Ended up having to have the 2 ports for like your crankcase ventilation, I do believe is what it's considered, that come off the valve cover. I got those moved and ran those to the intake in a different location. My drive shaft I had custom made at a drive shaft shop around here. That cost like $300, and it's rated for like I think 800 horsepower, which this truck will never see. So not worried about that. Just custom drive shaft. Just measure it, send it into your drive shaft shop, and that's what they'll build you one that you need. Okay, and jumping into fueling, I have a 415 snake eater pump, which is basically I think the same as like a Bosch 400 or 450, something like that. You don't have to run snake eater, just run a little bit bigger of a pump. And so I have that intake pump. I switched all my fuel lines to AN. I'm running 6 AN feed and return to an air motive regulator. So it goes 6 AN off the tank to the regulator, 6 AN from the regulator up to the single feed line that goes to your high pressure pump on the top of the motor, and a 6 AN return from the regulator back to the tank. Nothing fancy, it works great. I also have a inline snake eater filter in between the tank and the regulator. And then I have my tranny adapter lines so that I can run AN lines for my tranny lines. I don't remember what brand it is off the top of my head. I'll put it up here, and all these parts will be linked in the description as well. So if you guys want to do exactly what I did, go ahead. I'll have all the links for all the parts that I used down in the description. But this plate let me, it got rid of the factory, what do you call it, thermostat I guess you could call it on the trans, on the side of the trans, and let me put AN lines up to my tranny cooler, which I am, as of right now, not running an additional tranny cooler. It's just running into the 2 ports that are on the factory radiator. Like I said, 1,000 miles on it. I've beat on it quite a bit. It was on the dyno for a while, you know, getting beat on. I've taken it on a 3-hour road trip on a 90-degree day, and the trans hasn't gotten above 202. So, pretty happy with that. Obviously, if I ever want to push more power, or on like a 100-degree day, we'll have to add a trans cooler if I ever want to beat on it. But as of now, I think that's all that I have used to get this truck running. If there's anything I forgot, please comment below. If you have any questions, I'm willing to answer. The easiest way for me to answer them is message me on Instagram, which is also linked down in the description. But yeah, that is everything I used to get my LT 5.3 inside my 88 Silverado. And for a stock motor, it rips. So, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, remember, go down to the link, Instagram, message me. All the parts are down there. Yeah, deuces.